how to get past walls. First off, I think hitting walls is a different thing to writer's block. In my opinion, walls are about the story. Writer's block is about you. Is that a fact? Not at all. It's just what I think at the minute, and it's a distinction I've found very useful to make. We've all heard of writer's block. Whenever I do an event with other authors and there's a question and answer bit, somebody in the audience always asks what we do when we get writer's block. I've heard other writers say they never get it, some who say they get it a lot, but nobody really goes into what it actually is. I still haven't perfected like a neat answer, and I think part of that is because I don't trust neat answers, especially to questions about being creative, but for the sake of this, I'm going to try. See, I think it's all about feelings. Writer's block is when I just don't feel like writing. I don't feel like I want to. I don't know when I'm going to want to again. I don't even feel like I can write. That's writer's block for me. A general dislike, disinterest, or disbelief in writing. How often do I get it? Pretty often. I don't think there's a definite pattern for every story I've written, but I've had days and weeks like that every single time. Is it annoying? Yeah. Do I wish I could control it? I guess. But see, I realised something a few stories ago that I hold on to every time it happens, and it's this. I get everything block. I get TV block, exercise block, washing up block, times when I don't want to do those things, when I feel like they're pointless or just can't bring myself to do them. If I'm honest, some days I don't even want to see people, even people that I love. It's nothing they've done, and deep down I know I love them, but some days I don't want to deal with them. Some days I get friends and family block. It's just who I am. So having times when I don't want to start writing something I know I love to do, it's not that surprising to me. So what do I do when I feel like that? Nothing. Or rather, something else. Writing a story can take a while, and over the course of the process from beginning to end, I always have a good few times where I just really don't feel like it. So I don't. Now, I've learned over the years that this is one of those really contentious issues amongst writers. There are writers who would say that you must write every single day. Even if you don't feel like it, you force yourself to sit down and write something. That's the only way you get better. That's the only way you finish stories. Maybe you think that too. Maybe you've been writing for a while and force yourself to write when you haven't felt like it and you share that philosophy. If that works for you, then cool. In my experience, if I force myself to write, I end up getting frustrated and angry and feeling like I'm useless. And if I've already started writing the story when it happens, it's even worse. Let's say I have like 5 chapters of a story written, rough first draft, but I'm 5 chapters, then I wake up and really don't feel like writing. If I force myself to sit down and write, not only do I end up not writing anything, I end up reading and rereading those 5 chapters and deciding they're rubbish. I find every possible fault and feel like I've wasted my time, maybe even delete the whole thing or abandon it. It sounds a bit extreme, but trust me, I've done it multiple times. But I know myself a bit better these days. I know the feeling doesn't last. I know that if I go for a walk or ring my mom to check in about family or bake a cake, my brain will find its way back to the story somehow. Some little detail pops up, or I have a mini epiphany about how one character might surprise another, and just like that, I feel the urge to sit down and write again. Writer's block is just a feeling like any other. Just like waves, they come in and they go out again. I just try to be ready so when writer's block tide goes out, I can write as much as possible before it comes back. You will experience that feeling on your journey. We all do. I think the important thing is to remember it's as normal as a bad mood or feeling grumpy. There's nothing wrong with you or your story. You just need to try out different ways of re-finding the feeling and see what works for you. Now, hitting a wall, to me, that's something different. Hitting a wall is where you really want to write, but you're stuck. Something isn't clicking. It isn't about what your emotional state is, it's about the mechanics and pieces of your story not coming together. About hitting a dead end, but it's okay. Here's what I think. Hitting a wall is basically your story telling you it doesn't want to go where you're taking it. That sounds awful, Steven, I know, but it's not. When a baby cries, it's not a nice sound, but you know that there's usually one of a few reasons why. The baby's hungry or tired or uncomfortable. I'm simplifying, obviously, but you get the point. You change the baby's nappy, he's still crying. You give the baby some food, he's still crying. You give him a hug and rock him a bit, he passes out into a peaceful, smiley sleep. Boom. Hitting a writing wall, in my opinion, is the same. If I'm writing and I feel like I've hit a wall, it's usually my story letting me know one of three things. One, I haven't identified what my character wants clearly enough to drive the action. Two, I still have too many questions about my characters in the world that need answering to make it feel real enough to care. Or three, I might have got overhyped and rushed ahead to get to a scene I want to write. There are many more, of course, but those three are the ones I find most common when I've hit a wall. I'm sure you've seen things like story maps and the 3-act structure diagrams and all that methodology stuff. I personally find all of that annoying and restrictive until I hit a wall. When things are going well and I'm full of the energy to tell my story and the romantic idea that it's completely different to any story that's ever been written before, I laugh in the face of Aristotle and his story principles. But when I hit a wall and can't push through it, I often go back to the basics and find that when I ask myself what my characters want and what is stopping them getting it, I don't have the answers. Or the answers I have got aren't strong enough to drive them to act and therefore make a story. Go back. Main character. What do they want more than anything? Why can't they get it? What are they doing about it? Tweak things until it's interesting again. Other characters. What do they want? How is that making them behave? How are they impacting my main character and vice versa? Not sure? Maybe I need to flesh them out a bit more. Maybe I haven't unlocked something important yet. It's okay. Every single writer in the world hits walls. The more stories you write, the better you get at breaking them down, or at least the calmer you stay as you reach for your sledgehammer.